Every time I put Patrick Bateman on a versus tier list, he always somehow ends up at the very bottom. Now, when I first started making these tier lists, I actually tried to take him seriously. I would analyze his character in depth to see if he could really beat the character that I'm talking about in the video. But now it's basically just a running joke on the channel where I don't even need to say anything about Patrick Bateman on these videos. He just ends up on the bottom of the tier list just for the lulz. I don't even have to argue this. I'm putting Patrick Bateman in Survives One Season. And I really actually like the character a lot. The movie is just mwah, chef's kiss. It's amazing. And that's another reason why he's in basically all these videos. But then I thought, since Patrick's kind of a rookie when it comes to serial killing, why not match him up against other rookie killers and see who could Patrick Bateman finally be on these tier lists? Especially since even Patrick Bateman himself has been showing up in my comments asking for a tier list about him. So without further ado, let's finally give Patrick Bateman what he deserves. A win, finally. So the tiers are very simple. We have they kill Patrick Bateman, 50-50, and Patrick wins. I don't even have to explain these. These are really self-explanatory, so let's just jump right into the motherfreaking video. First, we got Arthur Fleck from the Joker movie. Now, this one I think is a really fun matchup because both Arthur and Patrick are products of their environments. They are both very mentally unstable and obsessed with appearance in their own ways. But the difference is Arthur's life is in constant pain and humiliation, while Patrick lives in privilege and this fake kind of perfection that he has made for himself. These guys are basically polar opposites, but they're kind of just the same. It's like yin and yang, essentially. Now, if these two ever crossed paths, I would genuinely think that Patrick Bateman would despise Arthur Fleck almost immediately. And honestly, if you hate Arthur Fleck, that's kind of an advantage for Arthur Fleck if you think about it, because in the movie, people that hate Arthur Fleck, he gets mad and then kills him. He would see Arthur as this dirty, pathetic loser and would probably go out of his way to insult him and probably go out of his way to try to kill him right then and there. Because I mean, remember the homeless man scene? He literally went out of his way just to kill him. But the one thing about him is that once he loses control, he doesn't feel fear anymore. If Patrick cornered him, Arthur would just go all in. He wouldn't even care. He'd just be like, okay, I'm just gonna try to kill this guy. And he would probably even shoot Patrick Bateman right then and there. I mean, remember what bro did on the talk show? He literally took out his gun and popped him right there on the TV show on live television. So I mean, like, and that unpredictably might catch Patrick off guard for a second, and no way Patrick would ever sense that. So for this, I genuinely think it's a 50-50 because if Patrick catches Arthur lacking with no gun, or if Patrick picks the wrong day to mess with Arthur and he has a gun on him, then he's dead. So honestly, genuinely, this is a complete 50-50 in my opinion. And next we have the Grabber from Black Phone. So the key difference in a matchup like this is that the Grabber actually knows what he's doing as a serial killer, and Patrick Bateman just pretends that he knows what he's doing as a serial killer, when in reality, he has no idea what he's doing. Now, the Grabber is still a pretty mid-tier killer, if I would have to indeed say so myself. If we compare him to like people like Dexter or Hannibal Lecter, he's kind of mid. He picks his victims, he isolates them and sets everything up beforehand, kind of just like Dexter when he isolates his victims with the M99 and sets up his kill room beforehand. But he's not as skilled as Dexter whatsoever. He just kind of has that in common with him. Honestly, he's just like literally, as I said, a mid-tier serial killer. So the second that Patrick steps into the Grabber space, it's just he's done right then and there, because once Patrick's locked in that basement, there's just no running from him, because he would realize that he is not in control anymore. And I feel like Patrick would even cry begging for mercy, because remember at the end of American Psycho when he was crying on the phone admitting to everything that he has done? Like, bro, he only did that because he thought he was about to be caught. So imagine him actually being caught in this situation and not caught by the police, by another fellow serial killer. Oh my god, it's just GG's right then and there. So the Grabber will kill Patrick Bateman 100%, even though he's still mid. Next, we have Love Quinn. So I feel like Patrick would actually probably be impressed at first. I mean, this is Love Quinn we're talking about. She's pretty wealthy, she's charming, and she fits right into his whole quote-unquote perfect upper class lifestyle kind of vibe that he has going on for himself. So he would think this is a match made in heaven, and also Love Quinn is pretty cute, so I mean, like, it's kind of a looks match. But it wouldn't take long before his mask starts slipping, literally and physically. And Love would definitely notice because she is not stupid whatsoever. She is manipulative in the exact same way that he is. And she also figured out who her ex-lover Joe Goldberg really was, a serial killer. So she would know who Patrick Bateman is right off the bat. And Love Quinn even managed to outsmart Joe a couple times, which is pretty impressive. Like, that is really impressive. Joe Goldberg compared to Patrick Bateman. Now, Patrick might have the upper hand physically and hand-to-hand. Wait, honestly, he might not even have that advantage, even though he's pretty buff. Love Quinn, I feel like, could take him to town, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I would genuinely have to give it to Love Quinn if it ever came down to a fist fight. I feel like she just has more knowledge on how to fight than Patrick Bateman. I don't know why, I just get that feeling. Love Quinn definitely wins this one. She even went toe-to-toe with Joe Goldberg and almost killed him, by the way. And I have Joe light years ahead of Patrick Bateman as a serial killer, so this one isn't really close at all, in my opinion. So I would even put her above the Grabber, genuinely. And next we have Jeffrey Dahmer. So Dahmer's main method of killing people in the Netflix series is literally luring people back to his apartment and then drugging them. Now, he only targets men, and as we've seen in American Psycho, Patrick Bateman is definitely not fond of that. He actually gets disgusted by it, which is typical insecure final boss behavior. Patrick. So at first, you'd probably think there's no way that these two would ever cross paths, but here is where you're wrong. Patrick Bateman is a pretty good-looking guy, exactly the type of people Dahmer would go after. And knowing Patrick, the second he realizes what's happening, I feel like he would be so offended and disgusted that he'd snap right then and there. And considering this wouldn't be Patrick's first time he's killed someone in public with zero regard for being caught, he would probably just try to kill Jeffrey Dahmer instantly. And Dahmer's never really been in a real fight before. I mean, to be fair, neither has Patrick, but Patrick's clearly stronger and in way better shape. And generally, when two people who have no combat training whatsoever, it usually just comes down to who's more physically dominant. This is Patrick Bateman's first win of the tier list, and in any of my videos, honestly, this is his first win. I mean, Arthur Fleck is a 50-50, so I guess you could say that's his first win as well, but yeah. And next we have Ghostface. Now, Patrick would easily think that he could beat Billy and Stu purely off of ego. If he saw two high schoolers in Ghostface costumes running at him, bro, he would be like, dude, who do these two kids think they are trying to mess with me? And that's exactly where Patrick Bateman would screw up. He would underestimate them completely, because even though they're just high schoolers, they actually have way better planning skills than Patrick ever has. Yeah, they might be clumsy with the knife, tripping over stuff, getting, hit with doors. I mean, you name it. These guys suck at physical altercations, but at least they have some kind of strategy. Patrick, on the other hand, literally has none, so right away he's at a disadvantage. And to make things even worse, it's a 2v1. Patrick might be stronger and more physically fit, but like Billy, Stu, and Patrick, they all suck in physical altercations. So I mean, like, this could genuinely just be a free-for-all, because Billy and Stu can't even win with guns and knives. Do we all remember what happened at the end of the movie? These guys suck. All of them suck. So with that being said, I feel like it would just be a 50-50, because I feel like it would just turn into a giant free-for-all. Dude, I don't know. Honestly, I would pay money to see a Patrick Bateman versus Billy and Stu. I feel like that would just be a comical movie. That would be hilarious. So I would give it a 50-50, but I would put them over Arthur Fleck. And next we have Norman Bates. So if Patrick ever stayed at the Bates Motel, you already know he'd walk in thinking he's better than everyone there. He'd probably insult Norman right at the door, complain about the room decor, be like, this is garbage, man. Where's the modern gray looking walls at, man? This is completely trash, you stupid bastard. Meanwhile, Norman would be standing there smiling awkwardly, trying not to lose it. And that's when his quote-unquote mother persona starts whispering in his head like, please kill Patrick Bateman. And then things would go downhill really fast. Now, Patrick's first mistake would be assuming that Norman is harmless. He'd probably think, this little weird motel guy, please, come on. Still, once Patrick realizes what's happening, I feel like it would just be over for Norman, because Patrick might be uncoordinated, but he's vicious when he's angry. Like, I'm talking, he's really vicious when he's angry. Like, this is the same guy who chased down a hooker in his apartment complex, but booty naked. So even if Norman gets a sneak attack on him, I feel like Patrick would just like yank him right off of him. Honestly, I just don't think that Norman wins. I don't even think there's even a 50-50 chance that Norman wins. I just think he's just not good at all. And next we have Joseph from Creep. Now, this one would be weird as hell from start to finish because Joseph's not your average serial killer. He is very awkward, he's manipulative, and he's kind of way too good at pretending to be this lonely, harmless guy. The thing that makes him dangerous isn't his strength or strategy, it's how good he is at getting inside people's heads. And Patrick Bateman is probably one of the most easiest people to manipulate because if you just hurt his ego, call him ugly, you're already inside his head. And another thing, Patrick's biggest weakness is that he always underestimates people who he doesn't respect. And just like, I feel like everybody on this list except Love Quinn, he would respect absolutely nobody. So it's going to be a common theme in this video. So for Joseph, he could easily trick him into a setup, and that's when Joseph would win. Joseph doesn't need to be physically strong to beat Patrick Bateman because I don't even think it would turn into a physical altercation in this. If he could just trap Patrick Bateman just like the grabber, he would just have to trap Patrick Bateman, and then once you trap him, there's nothing really he could do. Joseph will kill Patrick Bateman, but I think I would have to put him at the lowest here. And last but not least, we have Ed Gein. I don't even have to say anything about Ed Gein. He just loses already. I would honestly put him over Norman, and that's it, to be honest. Well, actually, I think I would just put him at the top of Patrick wins. So yeah, this is the tier list. Patrick has finally now got his wins in the MCC tier list versus universe.